And those of you who are watching us on Facebook Live, you can see her and Mo together. And we're going to get right to her. She's no stranger to the program. Nee Do from Conviva Care Center has been on here a few times now and is becoming one of our regulars
That's okay.
here
She's got a wealth of information
here on the
to
program.
share.
And she's on today. And listen, sit back, enjoy this program because it's all about
Your health.
we're going to be talking about how you can prevent falling, and particularly for those of you who may be 65 and older, it starts to get a little more easier, is the word I want to use. It becomes easier to find yourself succumbing to a fall, and the older you get, Nee's going to talk about some of the things that can happen to us when we get older. So listen to the program, and we are going to get started right now. If you want to call in, maybe you've slipped and fallen, and you can give us some insight on how it happened, and tell us a little bit about the incident. The number to call is 386-868-3411. Nee, welcome to Let's Chat America. We're so happy to have you back on the air
we
again.
are.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Durham and Mo, for having me back.
You're welcome.
I'm
You're
happy
welcome.
and honored to be back.
We want to get right into it. So we're talking about falls today, and preventing incidents where people find themselves falling. So when it comes to preventing falls, what are some of the prime recommendations that you can give to our listeners from the standpoint of a clinician that has been trained in functional medicine and lifestyle medicine?
Excellent start, Dr. Durham. And again, I just want to establish a foundation here. I am a primary care provider in geriatrics at this time, and I am also a friend of a very experienced physical therapist named Chris Tolos, who has had experience for over 20 years through the American College of Lifestyle Medicines. We have become friends and also are embarking on a project to be presenting at the national conference with ACOM this year.
All
and
right.
our topic will be actually called Empowering Fall Prevention Through Integrated Lifestyle Medicine Strategies, from recognition of fall risks to implementation of prevention of falls for all in practice.
All right.
So therefore, I just want to give that establishment, and I am not the fall expert. He definitely is.
All
So
right.
we'll
But you've got the knowledge on ways and tips that can help our listeners when it comes to falling.
Yes, so that's part of the reason why we chose this topic today together. And falls, in fact, is still remain the number one leading cause of ER visits due to unintentional injuries across all age groups. So for your audience, yes, above 65 and older with higher risk, but also for all age groups across generations can listen in and learn these tips. We want to be able to screen first, then assess, then intervene. So number one thing is, if someone who wants to do a questionnaire, for example, a screening questionnaire, and this is coming from the National Council on Aging, you can actually Google that. There is a 12-question tool that can give you a risk score. So a score of 4 or greater will give you an idea of how high of a risk you are. And then assessment, when you are with a clinician or a provider that can actually assess how the functional or practical cues of someone who is maybe at higher risk for falling. For example, I have asked Mo, if you wouldn't mind, Mo, at this time, I'm gonna bring this chair over. And to your audience, if anyone who's seated, not driving, and actually able to be on a chair without wheels, I would like for you to follow my instructions. So if you are not seated, please have a seat, Mo.
Can you see?
So we're gonna do one quick assessment so that you can see what Mo is about to do. So when you're seated, feet are planted. Yep, she's getting into the video view right now.
Yeah, so
Yes.
you can see. Okay.
And she's gonna lift her arms above her head like this. Yeah, all the way up like that. Or you can put them on your shoulders if you don't feel comfortable. And without the use of your arms, I'd like for you to use your lower extremity and core to stand on up. So everybody, watch Mo. Woohoo! Give her a hand.
She did it.
Yes, well done. Thank you, Mo, for being my guinea pig. So Mo has just demonstrated one of the most easy and very practical tests to show you that little tidbits here and there, whether it is the clinician observing it, because when we are looking at our patients, it's starting at the point of seeing them walk from the lobby with our medical assistant down into the room to see is their walking speed very slow, is their gait slow, do they need to push themselves to get off of the chair. And so the arm, using your arm or your hand in any way, if you actually need that every time you get up, could be a cue that you are at heightened risk. And I'm going to tell you a couple others. Feeling imbalanced while walking without any assistive devices. And this include your partner or your spouse as a device that you're holding on to. So if you don't use a cane or walker, but you're using your spouse, that's still...
what I do.
Okay, and you do have to check that box now.
Yep. I sure do.
Having difficulty getting into or off the bed. And this is not Goldilocks bed. I'm not saying that you are, if you are having too soft of a bed, that isn't an issue in and of itself that we want to address. You want to get a firmer bed. Next is problems with reaching, toileting, or use of stairs. Difficulty getting up to standing from the floor. So we'll go over this later on in our presentation here, but I won't have Mo demonstrate that. But when
Please
you are,
don't, because I can't.
when we will go
I need
over
a service dog for that.
We'll go through some steps for that, and this is in case if you do end up falling or having an accidental trip leading to a fall, how can you possibly get up comfortably from this? And it may take practice. And actually, Chris Tolos, my buddy, is actually an author of a book called Fall Prevention for All. So this is a lot of practical tips that he has put into this book, and I'm actually implementing a lot of that during my practice right now. And throughout the show, we'll be using some of his tips in the book. And then finally, the issues of getting in and out of the car, if that is something that you are struggling with on a daily basis. So those are some screening and assessment. But when it comes to assessment, I also look at beyond these cues is a medication reconciliation or review to see is there any medications that could be a high risk to lower the blood pressure too much or lower blood sugar too much. When someone is adopting healthier lifestyle and needing to come off of medications, but if they're not monitoring their vitals, what's called orthostatic hypotension can occur frequently. And I see at least one patient a day. One is because of dehydration, not drinking enough water throughout the day to have the drop in blood pressure, but two is also over medication. So all of these can actually lead to a fall. So and we know the consequences of fall, especially with comorbidities.
Yes, and we're going to talk about some of those consequences in a little bit. If you're just tuning in, this is Let's Chat America here on Joy 106.3 FM. My guest today is Nito, and she is a jewel. She is with the Conviva Care Center, right down the road from Daytona Beach. And today we're talking about falling, slipping and falling, and ways that you can mitigate or prevent you from falling. And if you'd like to call in with a question or a comment of your own, the number to call is 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. Those of you watching on Facebook Live, you can see my guest and you can put a comment or a question there, and we'll get that to Nee as well. So Nee, what's some of the updates that you can share with our listeners about preventing falling?
So I have a quick statistic. It might be frightening, but I will tell you this is from the CDC. It is projected, and there is actually a graph that anyone who's interested can look up. A graph is showing an exponential increase of falls every hour. By year 2030, there will be 7 fall deaths as a result if we are continuing this trend. So the fall death rates in the U.S. is projected to, or has been shown to to increase by 30% from the year 2007 to 2016. So that graph it is projecting up in that
It's an
upward
upward trend, yeah.
direction, and we're not putting effort into the preventative side of falls earlier on, and also learning how to fall safely and getting back up as well. So I wanted to.
I need that information right
Yes,
away.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And actually, in particular, I know you name our talk today for seniors, particularly. There is a program. It is called STEADY. So play on word there. ST is the stopping. Okay, so it is standing for Stopping Elderly Accidents, Deaths, and Injury. So STEADY is a program that was created by the CDC to help seniors specifically in terms of learning how to bring up about screening and assessment if your provider hadn't already done so, but also learning how to intervene. And one of the biggest ways in our primary care world and me working in geriatric is recognizing fall risks, and also even post falls. I've seen a lot of patients coming back for post hospitalization follow-up that is post fall and injury that I am able to refer out to my physical therapists locally who can work with them on balance and lower extremity strengthening and working to steady themselves with their gait, especially. So.
And that's so important, because as a country, people are living longer, and because
That's
we
why
are
the stats are going up, because the seniors are living longer.
yeah because we're living
Yes.
longer, the being susceptible to just some of the things that you talked about comes along with aging. And so this is very valuable information. And for those of you who are listening, if you have a senior or someone who is prone to falls, you might want to tell them to tune in right now to the broadcast, 106.3 FM. This is Joy, and Nido is here from Conviva Care Center to give us the tips that we need so that we won't find ourselves being susceptible to things that we can prevent. Some things are not preventable, but this is something you can prevent. You can slow down the progression of being susceptible to falling. If you'd like to call in, the number is 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. Maybe you haven't fallen recently, but you know someone who has. We'd like to hear from you on what you did to hopefully help that person not to continue on that trend of falling. And Nee's going to give us some more tips on how you can do that.
And speaking and putting a pen right there, one of the things that I have come to realize through recent falls, several over the course of the last 2 years, fell off a ladder, tripped off a curb,
Wow.
just fell for no reason.
So for no reason.
I've learned to, I do all the things your checklist says that are warning signs.
Yes.
Those are all warning signs in my life. I hang on to my husband everywhere I go because I tell him I might fall, and at least you'll grab me.
Exactly.
In fact, one day I fell into the grass.
Yes,
tripping on
going
my
into
shoe.
a restaurant.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, fell into
Yeah.
into a grassy area, and he had just turned his head for a minute, and when he turned back, he said,
You were
"What
on
are
the
you
ground.
doing
Yeah.
down there?"
He was on the ground. So it can happen.
But what I was going to say is that one of the things I've come to realize is that as you grow older, you have to accept the new limitations of your abilities so that you don't find yourself prone to falls because I shouldn't be doing that. Now, things like swimming when you're alone, gardening by yourself, we do these things and we don't think about it. But
Yeah.
Right.
if you fell, who's there to help you?
Right, right.
Just simple things you can say to yourself. Maybe I can't do that by myself anymore.
Yeah.
Well, one quick little piggyback on that, because you reminded me of something very important, and actually it brings up to how do I look at this as a functional and lifestyle medicine practitioner, and this is a lifestyle medicine lens right off the bat there. When this is a myth that I'm trying to debunk here. When someone is telling me that I feel like to prevent me from falling, I shouldn't be moving much anymore. That is actually a big mistake, because if you don't move, you lose.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
you will
Right.
lose more function.
Exactly.
And so movement is what we're designed for, to do as human beings. And every day, and I know that I mean, I have a standing like station. I create myself a way for me to chart and have a way to stand most of the day. But I know that it is hard when someone is actually in an office and having to be in a sedentary position most of the day. Posture awareness, knowing like if you're going to be bending forward like this, you will be tending to have that kyphotic. The spine, we are as old and as young as our spine, right? So when we have that kind of posture as we age and we are not being aware of that and creating the opportunity to try to prevent that earlier on in life, it's a huge asset.
It is.
Yes, and while you were mentioning in regards to how you fell, right? I just have to add to that. Even if you are a faller, you can still work on it.
Yes.
And there's a lot of
Sure.
opportunities that to make you not too scared to get around and to be doing what you love. Because the whole idea, I hope, at the end of the day, with all our talks and our time together, is that I want to be able to empower everyone to know that you want to add more life to your years,
Right.
not just years to your life
Exactly.
at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So,
And I think it's important to get your mind and your body in harmony together, because your mind may say, or your mind may feel like these are things you can still do as you've aged,
right.
but your body will say, I can't do these things anymore. And so having that mind and body together in harmony, I think, is a very important part of our discussion. All right, let's see who we've got on the air. Caller, welcome to Let's Chat America. You've got Dr. Durham, Mo, and Nee. What is your question or your comment?
Hi, my name is Rex, and my question is if my grandma has a high fall risk. She's not using a walker, she's not using a cane, but there's a history of falls. What can I do around her living space, her house, to reduce the chance of that?
All right, excellent question, Nee.
Excellent question. Thank you for calling in. And I just wanted to say this is kudos to you for listening in and tuning in for your grandma. And any grandkids out there who is listening, hopefully you can do this for your grandparents too. First off, there is actually a sheet, and it's a checklist that is produced from the Steady. There is a lot of Steady handouts up online that you can research and do a brief search to see this checklist. It checks for any tripping hazards around the house,
Rugs.
having especially
Rugs.
rugs to get rid of. And I want to say the next thing that is very easily trippable are pets. You just have to be sure.
Oh,
Yes, if the dog or the cat is not one to be like sliding underneath the legs while the person's walking, especially. So just being aware that informing your grandparents that the pets can be a big risk for fall. The other thing is how slippery is their floor and whether or not they are wearing slippers. So slipper can be a catch-22 if they are trying to warm their feet. But also that can serve as one of the higher the devices for shoes. We'll talk about that later on. But at this point, I just want to make sure that you're aware too that footwear is really important to walk, whether they're walking barefoot or around the house. If they're using like non-slip socks, for example, grab bars, having that around the house. I just want to give a few tips.
Yeah, particularly grab bars in the shower or in the tub area, because that's, it's wet when you get up out of the tub or you step out of the shower, your feet are wet. So those grab bars can be very, very helpful for seniors.
Absolutely. I hope that answered your question.
yeah, pets and looking at the surface and how slippery it is and footwear. Yes, thank you so much.
You're
You're
most
welcome.
welcome. Thanks for calling.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, knee. My mother tripped
Yeah.
over her
All right,
cat
take care.
and broke her knee.
All right, have a good one.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, actually, one of our patients in our population tripped over her dog and actually broke her pelvis. And that was a big fall for her.
Absolutely.
16.
That's all you have to do. If you're tuned in today, we're talking about fall prevention. And I mentioned seniors, but anybody can be prevalent to, or susceptible, I should say, to falling. So give us a call. Tell us what your circumstance or situation is, and Nee can give you the answer. 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. So Nee, and those of you on Facebook as well, put a question or comment there, and we'll get it to Nee. Tell us, Nee, about the different pillars of lifestyle medicine that can contribute to fall prevention.
Excellent question. And we were segueing a little bit
little bit.
earlier, yes, but I'll go in order since the past couple of times since we talked about lifestyle medicine, I've always started off with nutrition, right? So having a wholesome, plant predominant, fiber rich meal every single day, if you can, a majority of your meals, if not all of your meals, will be super crucial. So a lot of people have brought up to me about eating calcium food sources, and I said there's a lot of them in your dark greens. Yeah, so consuming lots of that. Also, there is a lot of research on vitamin D. So supplementing with vitamin D can help prevent falls. And for my particular population, I do recommend a higher dose of vitamin D, and always check with your provider and knowing what your lab values is. And D3 5000 IU international unit combined with K2, vitamin K2 together with D3 complex. Next would be your exercise pillar. So movement is super important throughout your lifetime. So I want to be very specific about a couple of things when it comes to exercising. So if you're moving every day or you're tracking your steps, you just have to make sure that you're doing it and actively raising your heart rate, right? You have to have that cardiovascular benefits while you're doing so. So the American College of Sports Medicine recommend that all adults from ages 18 and up with the recommendation of 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise that will raise your heart rate. So that means that you can do a talk test. So if you are able to converse with your wife while you're walking, but neither one of you can sing while you're walking, you are doing your moderate intensity. You can still talk and have conversation, but you cannot sing. Okay, and vigorous.
That's like folding laundry, mopping, running the vacuum, changing the sheets on the bed.
Let me back up a little bit. If your baseline is you're unable to sing at all,
Yeah, right.
then that might disqualify you there for
Exactly.
using that test. But the second recommendation is within that week, having 2 non-consecutive days of strength training. So that brings me up to a couple of things about exercise, the types of exercise. There are 4 types. Endurance, we just talked about with aerobic. The strength, we talked about. Flexibility, and then balance. Those 4 types. So flexibility and balance can actually be quite combined in all sorts of ways. Pilates, yoga, doing chair yoga. And as a matter of fact, my friend, the activity coordinator here at the Ormond location, is about to have a 1 o'clock class later this afternoon on chair yoga for fall
That's a big
prevention.
thing now. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, so if you're concerned, start with chair yoga. Those exercises are excellent.
Okay.
Next is sleep, having restorative sleep, actually getting that quality and quantities. 7 to 9 hours of sleep is recommended for adults. De-stressing, so when we have a lot of tension and tightness and we're walking around not really sure like where our balance is, we tend to be more likely to fall because we are distracted and thinking about other things and not watching where we're going also. So getting your mind, the mindfulness when we were last talked about here, having social connection. You're right camaraderie to keep you accountable for doing your exercises, for actually reminding each other, let's do this today because it's going to help us for our fall prevention.
Like
And
planting seeds in the garden.
Together.
Yes. And then the final pillar is the avoidance of risky substances. So you don't want to be under the influence of
Alcoholic
alcohol,
beverages.
yep, tobacco, or any kind of drug. So you
Yeah.
want to really be you and be in your most optimal health to add more life to your years.
If you're just tuning in, this is Let's Chat America. We're talking about fall prevention today. My guest is Nee Do with Conviva Care Centers, and it is really a fascinating topic. And if you have someone out there that you care for, or someone that in your family that is elderly, this is a great program for you to be listening to, because Nee is giving us some excellent ways that we can help those individuals to mitigate their falls or their risk of falling. If you'd like to call in, the number is 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. We see you coming in on Facebook, David and Jean, and so many of you coming in on the Facebook page. Thank you so much for being with us today. So, Nee, our time is getting past us. It's already 29 minutes past the hour. So how can our geriatric population and caregivers start gaining more awareness and practice ways to prevent falling?
So I will start off with the environment. So this can actually segue to our calling earlier about having the awareness of what the environment of that individual is living in. So having enough supports, whether it's grab bars, in the shower, around the house. Lighting is super important.
Yes, it is. My house in the middle of the night with all the regular lights out
Yes.
is well lit. You can walk from room to room to room.
Absolutely.
It's very important.
Yes,
Yes.
lighting and knowing your trip hazards well too. And if you're very familiar with every corner of your house, or if you're staying at someone else's,
Oh,
you want to be
yes.
aware if they
Or
have a
if you-
pet.
Yeah, or if you're in a hotel
Yes.
for the first time and you don't know your way
Yes.
around the
Yes.
room. Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't know how slippery that shower
Yes.
is.
Exactly.
Yes, yep, uneven surfaces anywhere. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone from owning a pet. I know pets are super therapeutic. You just got to train them well
Yeah.
to not run underneath your feet.
Right, exactly.
The next is footwear. So I learned this a lot from Chris's book, actually, about treads, having walking aids and using them properly. Talk to your physical therapist.
And that's a
Is-
cane or a walker
Yes.
or...
Is it the right height for you? Are you just leaning on it so much that you're decompensating? And also the big use of what's called flip flops. And the name, Mel is looking down her shoes.
Yeah, I
The
think she's
name-
wearing flip-flops today, actually.
Not today, actually.
Oh, no?
She
Okay.
isn't. But
They're not far from.
they're not far from it, she
Yeah.
said. But the thing is that, and to Chris's words perfectly stated, the flop is in the name. So if you are going to
Yes.
flip and flop,
Yes,
you
you can
don't
You
want
flop.
to.
flip, you'll flop.
You don't want to flop, right?
Yes. So, and actually, he has a great, I'll quote him for this one. He said, you have less than 1 second to regain your balance when you lose it. So that is really important.
Yeah, it is.
For you to consider all of these different factors, whether you're in the geriatric population or not. So just being aware at any age.
So that's why I fall, because 1 second's not enough to react.
No, it's really
It's like,
short.
oh, too late, going down.
it's a short time.
That's when it becomes important to know how to fall.
Yes. It is,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
How to fall, I think,
To
is
avoid
really...
major injury.
Yeah, they teach you when you are participating in some particular sports, for instance, like wrestling. They teach you the techniques on falling so that you're not injuring yourself when you do fall, because you're going to fall if you're a wrestler. There's
You're gonna get thrown to
you're
the
going to be
mat.
thrown to the ground. So there are ways that you can fall to kind of eliminate some of the injuries that could happen if you're falling properly or falling correctly, if there is such a thing as falling correctly.
Yes, you talk with your physical therapist. For
Right,
sure.
exactly.
Your friendly neighborhood physical therapist.
That is exactly right. 386-868-3411 is our live call-in number. 386-868-3411. Fall prevention is our topic today. And maybe you've had issues with falling, maybe a loved one that you care for or that you are a family member of has this issue of falling. And Nee has given us some great information. And listen, we are streaming live on Facebook as well. So if you miss any part of the discussion, just go back to my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. You can replay this program. I am going to figure out again how to get it on YouTube for our YouTube subscribers and listeners so that you can go to YouTube and also get it. And the YouTube page is Let's Chat America. Very simple. Same as the program name, Let's Chat America on YouTube. And you'll be able to find this program. And you can maybe sit down with a loved one and listen together to what Nee is giving us in the way of advice and things that can help you if falling is an issue in your family. So, Nee, can you discuss, because once you fall, then there are the repercussions after you have fallen. So can you discuss what the results of, or I should say what the results can be from a fall, and what steps someone should take to determine the extent of any possible injuries?
Yes. So when or post a fall, you're down on the ground. I just say, I'm painting you a picture here. So 50% of seniors who fall without injury are unable to get back up. And then this can even increase future risk of falls.
So you could have a double fall, actually.
Absolutely.
You could fall, then not be able to, as you're struggling to get up, fall again.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's important to learn how you can properly get up. So when you're down on the ground, assess
Help.
yourself. Yes, if
There is that commercial, help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you are at heightened risk, like you just did that earlier, the questionnaire with me and the assessment, then absolutely get yourself a call button that now has a risk
Those
version.
are great.
Yes,
Life
the-
alert buttons.
and the necklace version as well. So having a call button is super important. But while you're waiting there, it's like you're waiting to see what's next. And if you can't have a phone on you or reach your phone on that counter, how will you get there? So this is actually a really good thing that, I mean, when I read through Chris's book and he was demonstrating through the graphics in there, is getting how important it is to get up safely. So you are going to turn with one knee, bend your knee if you're able to, and get down and turn onto all fours so that you can crawl and find your way to a chair that's steady. Finding a place that you can pull yourself to get back up, knowing that if nothing's broken, if you are not injured, that you can safely pull yourself to get back up and going to somewhere that you can call for help. Because most people don't have their devices or their phone on them during the fall or accidental fall. So that is one big thing. And then knowing that if you've had a blackout episode beforehand, the loss of consciousness before falls should absolutely be assessed by a provider. When you do end up calling 911, the dispatcher usually go over the instructions with you on the phone to make sure that you're assessing yourself and finding somewhere that you don't end up falling again before help can arrive. The other thing is to make sure that you mention and talk openly with your providers. So when you are there for whether a walk-in acute visit or a regular follow-up visit, your provider should be aware that, hey, I have fallen or slipped and fall, and these are like the symptoms I've had. Because given that opportunity, you could also be looked at to see if you have orthostatic hypotension, which is a very big thing when it's dizziness as you get up quickly. And one of the biggest reason is dehydration. Again, so if the volume of the blood is not there to go up to the brain as the person from a laying down position
Stands up.
standing back up. So that is when the blood pressure is supposed to rise as you go up. But if it actually drop, then that is something that is called positive orthostasis. And that can lead to dizziness and subsequently a fall.
Wow.
So
That is really, really interesting. And a lot of people on Facebook, Nee, are listening. In fact, I have a family member in New Jersey, David. He and his coworkers are listening to you from the New Jersey State employees. They're on lunch, and they're listening to your broadcast. So it's very exciting. But here's what I wanted to ask you, Nee, because sometimes, people are quick they see someone fall, and they're very quick to rush over to pick the person up and lift them back up.
Right.
So what should be some of the things that we should be mindful of before we lift that person back up? Because there may be something going on that the fall initially doesn't show you or that you can see. But, you know, and I've seen people just rush and grab and kind of lift people back up. Should we be doing that? And what should we be asking the person before we try to lift them back up?
I think assessing the scenario, just like any kind of, we go through our BLS or ACOS training, and we always make sure, like, check for the pulse before you start giving CPR. Because what if that person doesn't really need it and you might crack a rib or something like that? You don't want to do more damage before.
Exactly.
You got to really assess the scenario and try to talk to the person. Like, where is your pain? Are you in any pain right now? And did you pass out, or was this a trip and fall scenario? Because that makes a big difference.
Big difference,
Yes,
yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So always be able to pinpoint, because you can ask the person to, if you can point with one finger, where is the pain? Because someone could have just fallen, but also broken their hip, for example, and you want to be able to properly, you know, have them in the position that doesn't worsen or dislocate it even further. So hip dislocation is a little bit less worse than a fracture, for example, and that can be reduced back into place. So a lot of the time you want to be able to calm that person down too. So having you there is very important, but I don't want it to be someone who really extremely are super helpful and wanted to be there to help, but ended up hurting the person further along. So that is a really important
Exactly.
observation.
Yeah, and if a person is living alone, and they fall, what advice can you give to that person on who should be the first contact for them to reach out to? Should it be a family member, or should it be a professional like the EMS or the fire department? Give us some tips on that.
Yeah, so if they don't have the phone, or if they don't have a call button, so the call button will automatically get a dispatcher out, right? They're connected to that program. But if there is a need for them to actually assess themselves, I would recommend them calling 911 first to know and be informed by the dispatcher what to do and how to assess themselves. So a lot of the time there are actual classes that they can actually attend and know what are the important cues to look for. And they can look up on the STEADY program if it's a senior who wants to get more information in terms of that. But the first thing is all family members and caregivers, and I know our caller earlier was calling in, and that's an excellent way to know too. Caregivers should have their handy dandy handout for fall prevention for caregivers. And that way, if the family member go-to first is to call the family member instead, then the family member would be able to know those cues too. But I would get a medical professional on the phone to assess the scenario.
Right.
And one of our listeners, Gabby, has tuned in, and she said
Hi,
that
Gabby.
she caught the tail end of the program about dizziness, and she's been experiencing dizziness for the past couple of months. But she says when she does experience it, that her ears feel like they're clogged, and she does not have blood pressure issues, though.
Could be sinusitis.
Is there anything you can suggest to Gabby?
So there's a lot of
Yeah,
dizziness
could be many
or
things.
fatigue can be actually a very vague description, lightheadedness, and being that it's been over a month, she's been kind of tracking it and tracing it, aware that dehydration can lead to it, and low blood pressure can lead to dizziness. But other things, like if it's related to an ear, it could be a sinus issue, like Mo was saying, but also vestibular issue. There is, the ear canal is very intricate, and it actually has ways that you can get crystals falling in
Yes,
and out,
yes.
and it's called benign positional vertigo. So it's actually something that is completely fixable and
Right.
can bring you back to your balance again.
You can do it on your own too. They
There,
can, you know,
yes, there's actually exercises that is, if you feel like you're in a safe environment to do so, a firm surface that you can be on all fours to do a somersault. That's probably what Mo is thinking of.
No, I was thinking of the one where you lay across the bed and you let your head drop way below, and they turn it, and the whole room spins until everything rights itself, and then they do the other side.
Right.
And I had done through therapy twice,
Yes,
and then they gave me
yes.
the sheet and told me when it happens again how to do it myself.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, your physical therapist is definitely. It might take
Valuable.
a few sessions, honestly. So we, as PCPs in our offices and in the environment, we always have to have our go-to physical therapist to send patients to. And if you are dizzy, don't drive. Have someone drive you
yes.
there. That is the best and safest way to do so.
One of the things too that I was thinking about was you mentioned, speaking to your doctor. Too many people are embarrassed to tell their doctor that they've been falling. They think, oh, I'm just clumsy, or I'm wearing the wrong shoes, or I just need to be more careful. But even if those are the cases, you should still tell your physician. Let your physician make the final diagnosis. Don't self-diagnose.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, it is 45 minutes past the hour. We've only got a couple of minutes, Nee. So
That was fast.
it always does. It always goes quick.
Yes.
So I know you want to wrap up, and you've got some things that you want to share with us about the things that are going on at Conviva that maybe
Yes.
our listeners need to know more about.
Yes, sir. So Conviva, I love one of our mottos is that it is committed to seniors aging well. So we have wellness centers across the market. So in particular, our Daytona market has 5 different wellness centers, starting up from north to south. I'm going to go down. Palm Coast has recently opened a wellness center up there. My center is in Ormond Beach, where Kelly is at currently, and she will actually be moving to the Orange City Center, which I know you both are closer for you over there, so Kelly might be able to see you. And then upcoming, so we have Palm Coast, Ormond Beach, Orange City, and then 2 in Port Orange. One is the Port Orange location, the other one's the East Port Orange location. All of these to say that every month there's calendars of activities that are going on, and an example of a calendar would look like this, where Kelly has them color-coded and marked with exercises like today, later this afternoon, chair yoga for fall prevention. So a lot of her days she goes with themes. For Mondays, there's a lot of improved balance recovery, strength and balance, restorative strength. So there's all kinds of different classes, whether it's activity there or social activities like arts and crafts. And I teach there too every month. And for next month, I will plug a class that I will be doing. Is called Empowering Fall Prevention through the lens of lifestyle medicine for all generations. So that would be on August 13 at 3 p.m. at the Ormond Beach Wellness Center. We probably will be definitely live streaming to all the other centers where activity coordinators, and all the way up to Jacksonville with whichever activity coordinators available to show it to their audience there. And another thing I wanted to mention is 2 different opportunities. So one that I wanted to mention is going to be an on-demand. It is a Humana Center online. It's a website. I wanted to slowly say this. Humana Neighborhood Center without the S. So HUMANA Neighborhood Center.com. That's where you can actually create a free account, and there is, starting in September, on-demand fall prevention classes. So they used to do those as a Zoom meeting for 4 weeks straight, a 4-week course with a packet and lots of different handouts for patients and community members, but they're going to be posting an on-demand. So after my class in August, there will be an opportunity where I can send a lot of patients with on-demand classes that they can view from the comfort and safety of their home, and actually practice some of these practical tips and advice that we discussed so far. And finally, I will leave a phone number for
Yes.
our Conviva Care Center, a 1-866 number and a local number. So that 1-866 would be 1-866-489-5655. 3873.
Repeat it.
Yes, 1-866-489-3873. And the local number is 386-506-0111. Now repeat that, 386-506-0111. And that is our two different numbers. With the main website is called Conviva Care Centers with an S there.com. And those are all the things that are coming up that I wanted to leave with you. And if anyone is interested to look further into my resource blog, there is a lot of free resources that I update over the past several months. Actually, it's been past my year mark since I published it last year in March. But it's my full name, Nhi, N-H-I, Ma, M as in Mary, A, and then Do is D as in Dixie, O as in Oscar, .org. So nhimado.org. And I went ahead and added into the tab that is the Start Here tab with the exercise pillar. The movement resource list on there actually has, one of the links will be for fall prevention. It's yoga for fall prevention videos. So there's lots of different free resources on there, and you can go on and visit for nutrition, exercise, sleep, de-stress. But with all that we're talking about today, focusing on fall prevention, I did not want to leave that out about yoga.
All right. All right, everybody. It is. We are moving quickly through our time.
Yeah.
We're so happy to have Nhi on the program today from Conviva Care Center. She is always a wealth of knowledge whenever she comes on the program. We know that you're out there listening and writing down all this information. And you can get to her by the phone numbers that she gave or the website, her podcast, I believe.
No, my blog.
A blog, rather.
Resource blog.
Resource
yes.
blog. All
Maybe
of those.
one day a
Yes,
podcast.
there you go. Maybe I'm
Maybe.
prophesying into the future. But all of those ways you can contact me or get more information about Conviva Care Centers, one near you. And believe me, it is well worth investigating, certainly as we get older and as things begin to happen.
And I forgot to mention too, the wellness centers throughout our market, throughout the Volusia County, are open to community members. They are open to the public. It's not only for our patients.
It's not a members only, right?
Yeah, so one of my classes, actually, I had met a 90-year-old that was interested in learning more about sleep because she felt like that was one of the biggest things for her to help her not only prolong life, but prolong her health. So when she came in March this year, not only did she bring herself, she brought her daughter, her son-in-law, and her grandson who was on spring break. So it was like a whole family affair. And it was a really fun time to have so many different age group across the board listening in and tuning in, asking questions. So her grandson actually had a lot of great questions to ask in the audience. So I always welcome everybody at any age that you're available to come with. The attendee, you can come on and join us on any of those classes.
All right, there you have it, everybody.
Yes.
Just get to Conviva Care Center's website, and all that great information is right there for you. And Nhi will be back, of course.
Yes.
She is one of our regulars here on Let's Chat America, probably in October. We'll let you know.
Oh, yes.
You'll see it on our website.
Before I forget, too, this is the book's title.
Yes, that book may be
I'm gonna
interesting.
show it to.
It's Fall Prevention for All, and Chris Tolos is
PT.
yes,
PT.
Chris Tolos is the author. Fall Prevention for All. You probably can get it on Amazon or your
Yes.
favorite bookseller.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Chat America today. We're so happy that you did. And Lord willing, we'll be
you
right
for
back
having me
here
back.
next week, same time, same place. We'll see you then. Love you. And this coming Sunday, I want to get a plug in for me this coming Sunday. I will be at the Tubman King Community Church, 1090 George W. Ingram Boulevard. That's this Sunday, 10 o'clock, Tubman King Community Church. I will be preaching. You don't want to miss it. Love you. See you then. Bye-bye.
Love you all. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program here on Let's Chat America, broadcast from the world's most famous beach. To request Dr. Durham to speak at your event, please call 386-451-5114. Again, that's 386-451-5114. Tune in next Thursday, 12 noon, for another powerful program hour here on Joy 106.3 FM.
WAIGLP, Daytona Beach, Joy 106.3.
July is Minority Mental